This wasn't always normal. In fact, it's one of the strangest behavioral shifts in modern consumer history, because there was a time, not very long ago, when fixing things wasn't just common, it was expected. A broken chair didn't get thrown away, it got repaired. A damaged shirt wasn't replaced, it was stitched. People didn't just own products, they maintained them, they extended their life, they respected their utility. But today, something feels very different. A phone screen cracks and it gets replaced, a microwave stops working and it gets replaced, even furniture, appliances, sometimes entire systems inside a home are treated as temporary, and the shift is so normalized that most people don't even question it anymore. So the real question is not what people are doing, the real question is why this changed in the first place, because this isn't just about convenience, and it's definitely not accidental. This is about systems, slowly and quietly reshaping behavior over decades. And once you begin to see that pattern, it becomes impossible to ignore. After World War II, the United States entered a phase of rapid expansion, but this wasn't just economic growth, it was structural transformation. Entire industries scaled at a pace the world had never seen before. Factories became more efficient, production costs dropped, and something very important happened in the background. Making new products became cheaper, faster, and more profitable than ever before. And for the first time in history, replacing something started becoming easier than fixing it. Now think about that shift carefully, because for most of human history, repair was always the logical choice. It was cheaper, it was practical, it was necessary, but now, the system flipped, and when systems flip, behavior follows. Corporations quickly realized something incredibly powerful. A repaired product does not generate new revenue, but a replaced product does, and that single realization quietly changed how products were designed. Instead of building things to last for decades, companies began building things to move, to cycle, to expire just enough to bring customers back, not immediately, not obviously, but gradually, and over time. This approach evolved into something far more strategic. Products were no longer just tools, they became part of a controlled life cycle, a system where durability was balanced against repeat sales, and once that system was in place, the rest of the shift became inevitable. But manufacturing alone wasn't enough to change human behavior, because people don't just act based on logic, they act based on perception, and this is where marketing entered the equation, not just as a tool to sell products, but as a tool to reshape identity. Because suddenly, new wasn't just better, new became necessary, old wasn't just used, it became outdated, and without realizing it, people stopped replacing things because they were broken, and started replacing them because they felt behind. And that is a very different kind of motivation, one that doesn't rely on need, but on perception. And this is where things start getting uncomfortable, because once a system trains people to replace instead of repair, it doesn't just change spending habits, it removes something deeper, it removes skill. Generations ago, people knew how to fix things, they understood how objects worked, they could take something apart and put it back together, but today, most people don't even attempt it, not because they can't learn, but because the system no longer encourages it. In fact, it actively discourages it. Repair has become expensive, time-consuming, and in many cases, intentionally difficult. Look closely at modern products. Screws are hidden, components are sealed, parts are proprietary, manuals are restricted, and this isn't poor design, it's deliberate design, because when repair becomes inconvenient, replacement becomes the default, and when replacement becomes the default, the system doesn't need to convince you anymore, it simply waits for the next purchase. And this concept, often referred to as planned obsolescence, is far more common than most people realize. Products are not always built to fail immediately, they are built to last just long enough to satisfy you, but not long enough to eliminate the need to return. And once this cycle begins, it reinforces itself. You replace something, the company profits, they invest in producing more, marketing pushes new upgrades, and you replace again, over and over, and eventually, it stops feeling like a decision, it starts feeling like routine. And that's when a behavior becomes embedded, not because it's the best option, but because it's the most familiar one. But here's the part that most people don't think about, this isn't just about money, it's about dependency, because when you lose the ability to repair, you lose control, you become dependent on brands, on service providers, on upgrade cycles, on systems that you didn't design but now rely on, and systems like that are incredibly stable, because they don't need constant enforcement, they sustain themselves through habit. Defaults are powerful, far more powerful than most people realize, because once something becomes the default, it stops being questioned. People don't wake up and decide to follow a system, they simply operate within it, and right now, millions of people are replacing things, not because they've carefully evaluated their options, but because it feels normal, it feels expected, it feels like the obvious choice. And that's exactly how systems succeed, not by forcing behavior, but by making one option feel invisible and the other feel natural. So the next time something breaks, pause for a moment, not long, just enough to think, is this actually broken beyond repair, or have I been conditioned to believe that replacing it is the only option? Because once you start asking that question, you begin to notice patterns in pricing, patterns in design, patterns in how products are marketed and how quickly they are replaced, and those patterns tell a much bigger story, one that goes far beyond individual purchases. Because in the end, this was never just about products, it was about shifting how people think, how they evaluate value, how they respond to inconvenience, and how they define what is worth keeping versus what is worth replacing. And once that mindset changes, everything else follows, industries evolve around it, business models depend on it, and entire economies begin to reflect it. And maybe the most unsettling part of all of this is how invisible it feels, because nothing about it seems forced, nothing about it feels unnatural, and that's exactly why it works so well, because the most powerful systems are the ones you don't notice, the ones that blend into everyday life so seamlessly that questioning them feels unnecessary. If you've made it this far, then you're already doing something different, you're stepping outside the default, even if just for a moment, and that alone changes how you see things, because once awareness enters the picture, the system doesn't disappear, but your relationship with it does. This is the uncovered context, where we don't just look at what people do, we look at why they do it, and if you're new here, subscribe, because the next time you make a simple decision, something as small as replacing instead of repairing, you might realize, it was never that simple to begin with.